This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
The Cleveland Browns just swept the NFL awards. They won Assistant Coach of the Year, Jim Schwartz. They won Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Flacco. They won Coach of the Year, Kevin Stefanski, taking home that honor for the second time in his tenure as the Cleveland Browns head coach, putting him in rarefied air when it comes to other head coaches who have gotten that award twice. And then Myles Garrett made his Hall of Fame resume look even better with a Defensive Player of the Year award. And what this accomplishment by the team reminded me of, or at least made me think of, is just how far this organization has come in 4 years. And sometimes I say stuff like that, and there are people who understand it because they've been going through it. And then there are people who maybe they went through it, maybe they didn't, but somewhere along the line, they lost track of where this started from. And they say things like, well, they didn't come that far. They haven't made that much progress, Quincy. They're not that different. They're still the same Browns. I'm like, how are they the same old Browns? The Browns have seen more success in player development and player accomplishments and winning and just playoff appearances in the 4 years Kevin Stefanski's been here than they saw in the 20 years combined before they hired Kevin Stefanski. This organization is going through a rapid change. The Browns, Joe Thomas, all his greatness, they don't give out an Offensive Lineman of the Year award. If they did, I'm pretty sure Joe Thomas would have won it a couple of times. But Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year award, that's got to be the first time we've won any of those awards, those really highly esteemed player awards, since the 80s. I think maybe Brian Sipes MVP in the 70s might be the last time a Cleveland Browns player achieved anything close to that. I don't know if Bernie Kosar got an Offensive Player of the Year award in there somewhere, but outside of that, I really don't think that this is something that the Browns have done. Whether you talk about the expansion Browns, obviously we haven't done anything like that. But if we're talking about the Browns before coming back from reactivation, I think this is still a rare accomplishment. And it just, again, makes me think about the past. And I think some of us have forgotten, or maybe some of us were born too early to understand what the Browns really went through. Like maybe you were born in 2004 and then you started watching in 2014. And then, you went through a couple of bad years, but you don't understand what 20 years of mediocrity for people who really experienced it was. It's not just that the team had bad records for those 20 years. For those 20 years, the team barely had Pro Bowl talent. Like maybe they get a kicker, maybe they get Josh Cribbs in there, obviously Joe Thomas, but outside of that, and Joe Hayden, of course, Joe Hayden, get the respect due. But outside of that, it was like random if we ever get an extra Pro Bowl guy in there. Like we used to celebrate the same way we're celebrating Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year is the same way a lot of Browns fans used to have to celebrate just getting one player to the Pro Bowl, not named Joe Thomas, because it was that difficult for us. We were that bereft of talent for years, that bereft of any accomplishment. And I know that whenever a team achieves something and you see people happy about achieving something, but it's not the Super Bowl, there tends to be these people who, I don't know if they mean to be wet blankets, but they end up being wet blankets that try to rain on your parade, rain on your happiness, and say something like, well, Defensive Player of the Year, that's not Super Bowl MVP. That's not the Super Bowl. What are you happy about? There's one thing, it's the Super Bowl. And that mentality is so fucking stupid. I hate that mentality, especially after a season where the team had 26% of their salary cap on IR. Now, we crunch the numbers here on this channel because we don't like to talk out of our ass on this channel. And we researched that in the last 10 years, one team with over 26% of their salary cap on IR has ever even gone above 500. No team in the last 10 years has even made the playoffs. So making the playoffs with 26% of your salary cap on IR, that is an accomplishment. It's not the Super Bowl. It's not winning the division. It's not winning the conference, but it's a fucking accomplishment. And for people who have watched this team, if you've truly watched this team accomplish literally nothing for decades, to poo-poo on that is a disgrace to me. People who want to throw that aside like it doesn't matter that the Browns accomplished that. No, that's a fucking accomplishment, and that matters. It matters that they were able to do that because we know what this team is trying to build back from. We know what this team is trying to get out of their system, and that is an accomplishment. Winning Coach of the Year twice, that's a fucking accomplishment. Winning Defensive Player of the Year, that's a real accomplishment. Getting Assistant Coach of the Year, that's an accomplishment. Comeback Player of the Year, that's an accomplishment. These are real accomplishments that Browns fans should feel happy about, that Browns fans should be excited about. I'm tired of people telling other fans that they can't be excited about anything that isn't winning the Super Bowl, because honestly, that's not what those people are actually trying to say. They're not saying that you can only enjoy the Super Bowl. They're just saying, I don't enjoy this, so I don't want you to enjoy it. That's all they're trying to do. That's all they're trying, because we enjoy stuff that's not winning the Super Bowl all the time. It's just more saltiness. And I don't know what it is about Browns fans, especially within the last few years, but it seems like there are fans who are hell-bent in making sure that this is the same old Browns, that this team won't achieve more. And sometimes it just happens, right? In your personal life, you might have seen this, or if in a professional life, you might have seen this. But whenever somebody tries to do better, there's always a group of people who want to bring them back down to where they are. And right now, the Browns are truly trying to do better. They're trying to break some of these habits that they've had. They're trying to break some of these trends that they've had, and they've done a really good job of it the last few years. I've watched this team my entire life. I was born in 1995. All I know is the reactivation Cleveland Browns. It's all I've been alive for. And I will never sit here and act like what this team has been the last 4 years is the same thing that they were the last 20 years before, because we weren't talking about NFL honors awards. It wasn't even something on our radar. We didn't like the fact that we have a 2-time Coach of the Year coach blows my mind every time I think about it. And anybody who's been through this team's woes in the 2000s, it blows your mind, because one, to have a coach long enough to win that award 2 times, that felt like something that would never happen with this team. For the first 20 years of my Browns fan, it felt like it could never happen, that we could never keep a coach that long. Hell, forget 2 Coach of the Year awards. We would have just been happy in the 2010 to keep a coach for 4 years. That would have been an accomplishment on its own that we would have celebrated. Not only are we at that marker, not only are we expecting that coach to get an extension, which is also something we would have celebrated. Hell, we celebrated when we were able to get draft picks to sign extensions. Now it's so mundane when we get draft picks to sign extensions. I feel like we've forgotten how low it got. I feel like a lot of us has forgotten how low it got, and maybe these awards can remind you, or this video can remind you how far this team has come. But the fact that we're debating about an extension that's happening for a coach that's been here 4 years, we've come a long way. The fact that that coach that people are debating about is a 2-time Coach of the Year, 12-year-old me can't even fathom the Browns having a 2-time coach of the year. 12-year-old me can't even fathom the Browns having a defensive player of the year, because for the first 20 years since the Browns came back in expansion, I think they had 2 guys who got over 10 sacks. 2 guys in 20 years. Myles Garrett gets 10 sacks like it ain't nothing. People complain when Myles only get 14 sacks and wins defensive player of the year. People complain about that. And oh, by the way, I want to show this tweet by Micah Parsons. Hopefully I'll remember to add it in post. But Micah Parsons ended the debate, right? Because I'll hear this from anybody, Steeler fans, Browns fans, anybody who only cares about the sack numbers. And I've always said sacks are a flawed statistic. They don't really tell you about impact on the game. Sometimes it can, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the context of the sack. And here is Micah Parsons responding to a tweet where Jersey Jerry says that this is a rigged job. Imagine looking at the left where Myles Garrett is and giving the defensive player of the award to him when he has TJ Watt and Micah Parsons in here. Now, Micah Parsons quote tweeted this and said this: horrible take. Myles was the better player. That's the reality of the situation. Myles faced way more double teams and had more of an effect on QBs. Fans, please stop looking at stats. Look at the film, please. If Micah Parsons can admit that Myles Garrett was the better football player than him, what are we doing? What are we doing? I've said this for years when it comes to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett has more impact on the game than any edge rusher in the NFL, and he don't even got to lift a finger. Just him existing and the way that teams adjust to him impacts the game more than any other edge rusher. If you want to know who your offensive coordinator thinks is the best player in the NFL on the defensive side of the ball, look at how they protect against Myles and look at how they protect against other elite edges. It's different. They do way more against Myles. Myles Garrett didn't get a sack in the last 7 games because they gave him the Revis Island treatment. They basically said, we will give up trying to throw the ball downfield. We will give up trying to hold this ball and do a 5-step drop. We will give up holding on to this ball for more than 2 seconds. We will give up all of that before the ball is even snapped because we're that afraid of Myles Garrett. That tells you who the defensive player of the year is. It's a concept we understand with corners. Revis Island happens, nobody throws to him. We're not talking about, Revis hasn't had an interception. No, unless you're an idiot. But no, nobody's doing that, because the reason he don't got an interception is because they don't dare to throw to him because they're that terrified of Darrelle Revis. And Myles Garrett is that for edge rushers. They're so terrified of Myles Garrett that they just give up on trying to slow him down. They wave the white flag to Myles Garrett before the play even starts. And Micah Parsons just admitted it. Everybody that you know that makes decisions about NFL football games, everybody that you know that plays in NFL football games, hell, TJ Watt never will admit it, but he know the truth. We all know the truth. All of these coaches would trade for Myles Garrett in a heartbeat. And they would trade your favorite edge rusher to get him. He's the best player in the NFL. And he certainly was this year. And he deserves that award. And if Micah Parsons would have won it, I would have said he deserved it too. If TJ Watt would have won it, I would have said he deserved it too. These are 3 generationally great players, all playing at the same time. But let's not act like Myles Garrett don't deserve that award. And that's just where we are as Browns fans. We've come a long way. We have seen this team dig themselves out of being absolutely mediocre. But now they're in a different place. Now they have expectations. Now they're not just a young, scrappy team. They're a team that has the defensive player of the year. They're a team that has a 2-time coach of the year. They're a team that has the reigning assistant coach of the year. They're a team that people should expect greatness from. Not because we're hyping these guys up based on potential like we did in 2018 or 2019. No, because we're hyping these guys up based on their accomplishments. Myles Garrett in this defense, we expect it to be great, not because it should be great on paper, but because they have the reigning defensive player of the year and their defensive coordinator is the reigning assistant coach of the year. You better be great. That's the expectation. We're expecting this offense to be pretty good, right? Deshaun Watson's a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Nick Chubb's one of the best running backs in the NFL. David Njoku cemented himself as one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Amari Cooper has been one of the better wide receivers in the NFL for a long time. Who knows who else you had? But these aren't hopes. These aren't on paper. This team should be good anymore. Expectation is 10 to 13 wins, because that's what a team with this pedigree on its roster and coaching staff should achieve. So while we can accept the awards and appreciate them and celebrate them, and I do mean celebrate them, because Browns fans, we've been through a lot, okay? And to not celebrate these accomplishments is insane. We should celebrate them. No, it's not winning a Super Bowl. No, it's not winning the conference championship, but it's a damn accomplishment, and we should appreciate these accomplishments, because we know what it's like to have a team accomplish nothing for 20 years, accomplish absolutely nothing. We celebrated just getting single-digit losses one year. That's how little this team achieved in 20 years, and they've achieved so much in the last 4 years that sometimes we get a little numb to it. But now it's time for them to take that next step. When Kevin Stefanski first got here, this was a young team full of potential. Now this is Kevin Stefanski's fourth year going into his fifth. He is no longer a young coach full of potential. He's two-time coach of the year, Kevin Stefanski. Myles Garrett is not just a young edge rusher that has the potential to set the league on fire. He's reigning defensive player of the year, two-time first-team All-Pro, Myles effing Garrett. It's different now. The expectation is different now. These aren't hopeful expectations. These aren't, oh, it's fun. The Browns are the trendy team. It's cute to pick the Browns to win a division. This is serious shit. So as fun as it is to celebrate these awards, winning these awards puts you in a different category, puts a different target on your back. And look, we've seen this team crumble with a target on its back before, but this team's experienced now, so I expect them to stand with that target on their back. But that's what it is. Winning these awards, it's a great accomplishment. I'm happy for everybody. But also, Browns fans, Browns players, Browns family. The shit gets serious now. The shit gets serious. You know, when I was in high school, around 2012, 2011, I felt like that was the darkest time to be a Cleveland sports fan. LeBron had just left, and the Cavs were flat awful. This is before Kyrie got here, right? There was that one year or 2 years before Kyrie got here. And then the Browns were just pathetic. They were never bad enough to get the good players in the draft. They were never good enough to make you feel anything. They were just pathetic. They had two good players, Joe Hayden, Joe Thomas. At that point, I think Josh Cribbs had started to wash out the league. And they were pathetic. They were a pathetic team. Both teams, pathetic. No hope. Just pathetic. That's where we were in 2012. That's where I remember those two franchises being. And now I look at it, and the Browns are decorated, have awards, have a two-time coach of the year. Not that they hired a 2-time coach of the year. They have a guy who's won coach of the year twice with them, who's been on their staff for 4 years, and who looks like he's going to sign an extension. They have, on paper, what looks to be a very accomplished crew. A multiple-time Pro Bowl quarterback, a multiple-time All-Pro running back, a multiple-time Pro Bowl wide receiver, a Pro Bowl tight end, a defense that was decorated with the defensive coordinator that just won the highest award that he could win. I used to dream for Cleveland sports to be in this spot, for the Cavs to be in the spot that they are, the 2 seed without LeBron James. I used to dream for this, and I enjoy every minute of it. But see, I know if you're online a lot, you feel like people can't do this. But in the real life, people can do 2 things at once. I can appreciate these awards, take it in, and see how far the Cavs and the Browns have come, and really do appreciate that. But I can also understand that this offseason, these next few seasons, the shit gets very serious. So the Browns just swept the awards. That's what I feel like it means. It means the Browns are in a different place. We are no longer that Browns team that existed before Kevin got here. This is a very different team. This is a very different franchise. But with being a different franchise comes different expectations. And now it gets serious. It's been fun for a little bit. It's been cute. It's no longer fun. It's no longer cute. Well, it's fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's no longer cute. It's no longer a quirky thing picking the Browns to win. It's a serious thing because this is a serious team with serious ambitions and serious people going for some serious goals and hopefully bringing home some serious gold. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.